Hi everyone. The following is a really lovely yin yoga class that I taught a couple years ago online for the new moon in Libra, and it focuses on healing relationships. So it starts with some breath work, and then we go through a variety of yin poses. And while we're holding these poses, I will guide you through a self-inquiry practice to help you illuminate and begin to heal that part of yourself that Carl Jung referred to as the shadow. And the shadow is the parts of ourselves that we reject, repress, hide, deny, and the part of ourselves that often gets triggered in our relationships. So working with the shadow is really key to improving harmony and balance in our relationships with others, as well as in our relationship with ourselves. And then I finished the class with some lovely affirmations and a mantra that really brings healing to, again, our relationships with others, our relationship with the self, and brings healing to all the relationships in the world, which could always use a little dose of love and light. So if for any reason you're short on time, what I would suggest you do is the beginning breath work, and then fast forward to the very end of the recording where I have those affirmations and a mantra. And that would be a beautiful way to honor the new moon energy, align with the energy, or just any time that you want to refocus and connect in with your heart and bring more love out into the world. If you do have time, and really it's only 60 minutes, it's a very, very yummy class, again, focused on the low back and hips, and you don't need many props. If you do have a bolster and yoga blocks, I would suggest you gather them. And if you don't, you could use alternatively some throw pillows, a blanket, and perhaps you have a chair or sofa cushion with a little bit of density that could serve as a bolster. But it works perfectly fine without any props at all. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope it brings some healing and expansiveness to you and your heart. Please let me know how you liked it in the comments below, and I will see you soon. We're in the sign of Libra, which is the sign of the scales, the sign of balance. I thought we could all use a little decompression before we jump right into yoga and to a lot of astrology. So I thought we would start with my personal favorite practice, Nadi Shodhana. Now I know, because some of you have told me, as much as it's my favorite practice, it's not always your favorite practice, particularly if you have a stuffy nose. So I'm going to demonstrate the classic way we do what we call alternate nostril breathing in yoga. And if it's not comfortable for you because of a stuffy nose or for any other reason, I'm going to give you an alternative, which is basically using your mind and the intention of the mind. But alternate nostril breathing is probably one of my favorite practices, if not the favorite practice of yoga, because it creates a quality in our mind that is sattvic, which is balanced. It is calm, a mind that is calm, but not sleepy, not necessarily out of it. It's calm yet clear. So it balances the yin yang energies in our body. And it also balances the hemispheres of the brain. It supposedly balances our hormones. So it's all in all, I think, a wonderful thing to do, particularly before meditation. So we're going to do some alternate nostril breathing, and then we'll go right into our first pose, which is just going to be a reclined butterfly. And so I just want to show you, because you might want to set up your props. If you don't need your bolster to sit up on for alternate nostril breathing, then you can just have it off to your side. You might even want to elevate it with a block if you want it a little bit more like a lounge chair. You don't have to. But that's basically the prop we'll use, and possibly some blocks to support the knees. So when we do go into this shape, we bring the soles of the feet together. You may put some support under your knees, and you're just going to lie back over the bolster if you're using one, or just lie flat on the floor. Okay, so that's where we're heading, and it's nice to make a smooth transition into it after after we do this type of practice, this breathing practice. So I just want to close this so you can get that set up, and then come into a seated position where you can get your hips up just slightly higher. Oh, I didn't know Natasha left, but she's back. If you can get your hip points slightly higher than your knees, that will help to align your spine. So classic alternate nostril breathing is done with the right hand. You bring the first two fingers into the palm, or you can place them here at the third eye. We always start, let's do one round together, then you can decide if you're too stuffy to do this. So you're going to start with an inhale through both nostrils. Then we close off the right nostril with our thumb, exhale out the left. Then we'll inhale through the left. This is still closed. Inhale through the left. And then you close the left nostril. So for a moment, both nostrils will be closed. And I usually do a breath hold. We won't do a real long breath hold, but we'll have a little breath hold. And then you release the right nostril, release the thumb, exhale out the right. And then you inhale through the right. Close the right. Again, you have both nostrils closed for a brief period of time. And then you release the left and exhale out the left. That's one round. And I'll just guide us through it so you don't have to. Hopefully, I'm not always the best. Sometimes I screw up left and right, but I'll try to stay focused so that you don't have to think. Now, if you're just too stuffy to do that, an alternative, which is actually an advanced version, is to just do this with the intention of your mind. So you literally visualize, you're not going to close off a nostril, but you're going to just visualize the breath coming in one nostril, so coming in the left, up to the third eye. And usually what I do is envision the breath like light, like a silvery or white light coming through the left nostril up to the third eye, where you hold it, you visualize the third eye, and then you visualize the breath on the exhale leaving out the right nostril, and you just reverse that. So you're in the same pattern, you're just not manipulating the nose with your fingers. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's get to a comfy position. When you do Nadi Shodhana, there are versions that we do lying down, but ideally, for this version, you do it seated. Make sure you're comfortable. Make sure your shoulders are relaxed. Okay, and then all together, we take a deep breath in. And then exhale out the left. Close the right nostril, exhale out the left. Inhale left. Close left. Release right and exhale. Inhale right. Close right. Release left. Exhale. Inhale left. Close left. Release right. Exhale. Inhale right. Close right. Release left, exhale. Inhale left. Close left. Release right, exhale. Inhale right. Close right. Release left, exhale. Inhale left. Close left. Release right, exhale. Inhale right. Close right. Release left, exhale. We'll do 2 more rounds. Inhale left. Hold. Release right, exhale. Inhale right. Close right, hold. Release left, exhale. And last round. Inhale left. Close left. Release right, exhale. Inhale right. Close right. Release left, exhale. Release the hands from the face if you're using the hands. Just rest the backs of your hands on your thighs and just take a moment to observe how this may have changed the quality of your mind and the quality of the physical body. Now we're going to make that transition from the seated position onto our backs. So just come off any prop you might be sitting on and go ahead and come into reclined butterfly. Again, we're going to bring the soles of the feet together and we're going to be here for a little bit. So you might want to support the knees, even if you usually don't. I'm going to use blocks, but you could also just put pillows underneath the knees. If you have a bolster, you could bring that bolster right behind the hips and lie back over it. If you prefer to have the back flat, that is fine too. Okay, and I'm going to give everyone a second to just get situated. So Libra energy is lovely. Lovely. It's they're all beautiful. All the signs are beautiful, but Libra is the sign of balance, peace, harmony. They are the great peacemakers and communicators of the zodiac. They are the lovers, not fighters. And it's a very interesting sign because it's an air sign. All of the air signs are considered masculine because the element of air is considered masculine, but it's governed by Venus, a planet that we associate very much with the feminine. So you've got Libra here with evidence and energy of both those polarities, both the feminine and the masculine. And the energy of Venus in Libra is very different than Taurus, which it also rules, where the Taurus Venus is that very earthy, sensual kind of feminine vibe, and in Libra it's very refined. It's, you know, the energy of creating poetry and beautiful arts. And so Libras do love beauty. They love fashion and beautiful environments. They are the diplomats. They also love fairness and equality. And even though they are known for, you know, being very peace loving, they will fight when inequality is out in the open, and that is something that can be very difficult for Libras to have to deal with when they see or experience inequality. So those are the high vibe Libra qualities. We all have our shadow sides, and that's important to look at, because so the more shadowy aspects of Libra are they're quintessentially the most indecisive sign, because they see both sides of the coin. So typically you ask, so do you want to have Chinese or Italian food for dinner? I don't know. What do you think? Or they might give you all these reasons for having Italian food, but then go, but on the other hand, Chinese food would really do this for us. So they like to stay on the fence. They don't like to commit sometimes. So that can be a challenge. Another tendency of Libra is comparison. They are the sign of the other, where its opposite sign, Aries, is all about the self, Libra is all about the other. So the downside of that is they are often always looking to the other for approval, for acceptance, for validation on how beautiful they are, or how harmonious they are, or just how lovable they are. They can also be the ones who are always comparing themselves and judging themselves based on where other people are in the race. Oh, I don't know, are they prettier than me? That kind of thing, which we all know is a real dangerous trap. They don't like conflict, so sometimes when they get upset, that might lend itself more towards passive aggression, where you don't come right out and blurt something directly aggressive, but they might do it kind of in a circuitous way, because they do love beauty. They are known a little bit to be vain and gossipy, procrastination. Those are, I think, all the main Libra shadows. If you know others, you can chime in at the end. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's take a break. Let's go ahead and straighten the legs, because they've been in that position for a while. And if you have props underneath your knees, just move them out of the way. We'll go ahead and bend the knees. And if you're on a bolster, that's fine. You can stay on the bolster, but just bend your knees, and we're just going to windshield wiper a little bit. You're lying down. I'm just doing it seated. Okay. And then from here, let's just roll to the side and come off any prop you're on. So if you've been using a bolster, just push that off to the side. Okay. Come back onto your back. And bring the knees into the chest. Let's just rock a little bit here. So Libra governs the low back and kidneys, so we'll do some work there. Let's start with some circles. So just with the knees and ankles together, draw some circles. And then reverse direction. And then go ahead and separate the knees. So separate them wide apart and then circle the knees in towards each other and then back out, just like you're swimming the breaststroke. And then reverse direction. And the next time the knees are wide apart, let's come into happy baby. So we're just going to bend the knees. The soles of the feet will face the ceiling. If you could grab hold of the feet or the big toes, that's great, or even the ankles. If that strains your shoulders, don't do it. Just bring your arms behind the knees and let the thighs and the knees be really soft. Let everything just drop. Okay, from here, let's go ahead. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. And if you could grab hold of your hands, if you could take your hands to your feet, you could rub the soles of the feet a little bit. And then just bring your feet, if you can, get your hands up there, just draw the feet a little closer down towards the torso. Good. If it feels okay with your neck, you can lift the head and shoulders up, bring the chin into the chest, and then draw your feet up a little bit closer to the head. Take a deep breath. Okay, from here, if you're up for it, we'll rock up. If you're tired and exhausted, I don't blame you. You can just roll to your side. We're going to come into a forward bend, which is also, along with Nadi Shodhana, a very nice way to kind of soothe and quiet the system. So for most people, the most accessible forward bend is actually staying in butterfly and doing a forward bend like this. Now we've got props. If you have some props at home, you can do a couple of things. Let me give you some other options though too. If you're tired of being in butterfly, you can always do a dragonfly, wide straddle, or you can do straight leg forward bend. Paschimottanasana in Hatha, and we call this caterpillar in Yin. So you're going to use your props to make your forward bend more comfortable. If you're in straddle or butterfly, sometimes what I like to do is in butterfly, elevate my feet with a block underneath and then put the bolster in between. Elevate the bolster in dragonfly. Another thing I do sometimes, if you just have a block, is just bring my elbows to a block and rest my head in my hands. That's a version I love. Okay. So take a moment to get comfy. Remember, we stay for a little bit of time. So better to be comfortable than to have to reposition. Remember, you don't always have to go as far as you think you need to. You can just go about 3/4 of the way, relax and ease into it. Just good advice for right now. Okay. We all hopefully know that the best thing we can ever do if we want to improve any of our relationships is to work on ourselves, and to learn to love and accept ourselves, because we can never truly, be available for someone else when we're trying to look for other people to heal ourselves. It's really an internal job. So we're going to talk about the shadow. But for right now, let's take some deep breaths and just be here. Okay, a couple more breaths in the forward bend.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever version of a forward bend you are in, I want you to don't move yet, but just start to sense your sit bones and your hips, part that's connected to the earth. And we're going to start to straighten up the spine, but as you straighten up the spine, actually push down into your sit bones and the hips to help you come up. Good. If you have straight legs, you can stay. If you're in the wide straddle, start to bring your legs together. If you're in butterfly, just bring the knees up. And let's all bend the knees. Take the feet forward of the knees, hands behind you, and we'll just do some seated windshield wipers. Okay. And then let's come to hands and knees. So this is one of my favorite practices for the low back. And I do it a lot in class, so you guys are probably familiar. But it's a dynamic version of cow-cat. So from tabletop, we're going to take an inhale. Let's do the first round slow. So I actually like to do my first cow by bending my elbows out like this, just momentarily. And then I kind of scoop my chest forward and then straighten the arms. You can't see because I've got this sweatshirt on, but my belly's dropped, tail is lifted. I'm looking up. Take an inhale here if you haven't already. And on the exhale, around the spine. And really lift up through the ribs, push down through the hands. Let's curl the toes a little bit. And staying rounded, just shift the hips back towards the heels. And notice what you feel in the low back. Good. And then let's inhale back into cow. Exhale into cat. And this time we're going to release the toes and come all the way down into child's pose. So you can just tap your head on the ground and then come right back up. Come back into cow. Exhale into cat. And release hips to heels. And let's do it 2 more times. Inhale up. Exhale round. Hips to heels. Oh. One more. This. Now this time really stretch your hands forward. We're going to change the flow up just slightly. We're going to inhale up, but now look at my hands are forward of my shoulders. On the exhale, if you can do this, if not, just go back to what we were doing before. But if you're able to lower the thighs and draw the chest between the arms coming into a high cobra, that's kind of nice. And then you can then inhale the hips back up and exhale back to child's pose. And we'll do that again. Inhale up. Exhale, drop the thighs, draw the chest forward, look up. Inhale, lift the hips, and exhale, hips to heels. And now we're going to come into Sphinx from here. So inhale, tabletop. Exhale, lowering your thighs. Bring your forearms down, elbows right underneath the shoulders, coming into Sphinx. Now in Yin, what's nice to do if you have a block is to rest the forehead on the block. So, and if you don't have a block, don't worry. You can just drop the chin a little bit so you're not extending, not hyperextending the neck, either looking down or slightly forward on the mat. If you do have a block, or you can even bring your elbows together and rest your head in your hands. Why I like to get that pressure there around the brow ridge, around the third eye, is it's very soothing to the nervous system. So if you have been feeling a little frayed, maybe try that version. If you don't have a block, just resting your head in your hands. Some nice acupressure spots up there. Okay, so the shadow. Always sounds so scary. It's not though. It's not. It's actually really important and really alive and well in most all relationships to some extent, unless you're really evolved. So I believe it was Carl Jung who coined the term, and it is the part of our consciousness that lies below the surface of our awareness, our unilluminated, not yet faced conditioning, what we reject, repress, and dislike about ourselves and others. So one kind of example of that might be, and this is usually, these are patterns that are that typically develop in early childhood, and say you were in a family where weakness was really viewed as really distasteful and despicable. When you sense weakness, it's a rejected part of yourself. When you sense that in others, you might have a strong reaction. So it's all those unresolved, unprocessed hurts and emotions. Our shadow emotions and conditioning, which are usually formed in early childhood, result in protective defense mechanisms, unconscious biases, and beliefs that shape our worldview. And they really comes out in our relationships, particularly when we feel personally, or some sense of ourself feels threatened or vulnerable. And it tends to happen more around eclipses. So when our shadow is a little bit more visible. We also need to, really work with our shadow, not only to heal ourselves, but so we don't do that projecting out onto the other. Okay. Let's go ahead now and let's just take a break. So from Sphinx, you've got your block, just place it down on the ground and just make a pillow with your forearms like this. Rest the head straight down. And then you might want to shift the hips a little bit from side to side, or bend the knees and windshield wiper. All right, from here, we're going to do a prone, a face down twist, and then we'll do some shadow processing. All right. So go ahead and just come up onto your forearms again, just so you can see in the computer. What we'll actually be doing in this twist is lying face down, and we're going to take our right arm straight out from the shoulder, palm down. Our left hand, you can bend the elbow. Come in here. Your left hand's going to be like a little kickstand, okay, underneath your left shoulder. Just watch me first. Then you're going to bend the left knee and roll over onto your right side, bringing that foot to the ground. If you need to support the head, you can use a block or a bolster or a pillow. But what we're doing, we're getting a spinal rotation as well as a shoulder stretch. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Lying face down, right arm straight out, left hand little kickstand. Then go ahead, bend the left knee and just roll over onto your right, bringing that left foot to the floor. Okay. So typical signs that our shadow is alive and well and in effect is when we get triggered. Those people, those situations that just, we all know it. When we get highly emotional or worked up or defensive, and particularly we know it's our shadow when our emotional reaction seems to be greater and not really matching the situation. It might just be, a really just kind of nothing statement that someone makes that just sends you off. That's a real sign, when you have that disproportionate emotional reaction. Other signs, you keep acting out the same dynamics and patterns over and over again in your relationships. You might not even know you're doing it, but you're like, why? Why do I always seem to meet people who da 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 da? Because we tend to project our shadow onto the other. So it's like, I don't understand why I always meet these people who lie to me. There's something going on there. Okay, another sign is you have a fierce inner critic. So this comes up with things that we, just do not want to accept about ourselves. Okay, let's come out of this. Let's come back onto our belly. Take both arms down by your sides and just shake the hips a little bit. So this comes up for me, as a yoga teacher, it's like, oh God, what are people going to think? I'm a yoga teacher. I shouldn't get angry or be mean or things like that. That's that self-critical super ego. We just reject this aspect of ourself, which is actually a part of being human. Okay. So let's go ahead and set up for the second side. We're just going to reverse it. So this time we'll take the left arm straight out from the shoulder, palm down on the floor. Right hand this time, you can see it's like a little kickstand. This time we're going to bend the right knee and roll over onto our left. Okay, what else? Doing things are unhealthy for you is a sign. This is coming from a list that I got from a friend. So this is an interesting one. Excessive positivity. So you're so excessively positive that it distances you from the pain and suffering of others. You don't want to see the suffering in the world. It's like, oh, everything's fine. Or that could be a sign. Emotional numbness, where you just shut down. And then, of course, projection. Something happens in the present that reminds us of something or somebody from the past, or, it triggers a part of ourselves that we deny, and then we project it. We see it in the other. Okay. Couple more breaths on this side. And then let's let go. Let's come back onto the belly. Again, arms down by your sides just to release the shoulders. And just shift your hips side to side. Bend the knees. Windshield wiper. Now, if your low back feels tender at all, because we were in Sphinx, we were in a back bend, you can always come up and do a little cat-cow very slowly. Or sit in child's pose. Just kind of brush the low back. And then when you're ready, I want you to come onto your back. You can take your time. And if you do have a bolster, what I would suggest is put it underneath your knees. I actually like to put bolsters on their side to support the knees. So I find that really comfy. If you want anything under your head, I want you to be really cozy. Okay. Take a couple deep breaths once you get settled. So we're going to probe a little bit and look at what shape of our shadow exists. So what I'm going to do, I want you to just take some deep breaths. I want you to feel your body, really be here now. And I'm just going to read some questions and try not to get overly analytical. Just notice what comes up. It might be very clear. Maybe the answer is not immediately clear, and that's okay. Right now, in this relaxed state, we're just kind of stirring a little bit. And this is recorded, so you can always go back. In fact, be great if you really are serious to go back and journal with these questions. But for now, just take them in, and you might have a aha. And if not, just take your time and work with them later. Okay. And no one's seeing your answer, so be as truthful and honest as you can. First question. What is the quality or personality trait that I tend to deny or avoid or hope that people will not find out about me? So these are not things that we kind of joke about. Like, I have no issue with being woo-woo. I mean, if people think I'm weird and woo-woo, it's like, I'm fine with that. There are other things I don't want to, that are true, that I really don't own. So that's my shadow. So these are the things that we can't joke about. They are not funny to us. The thing I spend the most effort hiding about myself is, and think of when you first meet someone, when you just perhaps start dating someone, what do you hold back, if anything? Okay, this really gets more interesting as we move forward. The quality that most irritates me about other people is da 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 da. And think about the things that you tend to gossip about or criticize other people for. That might even be more accurate. I have a real trigger when I feel like people are lying to themselves. Yeah, and I've done it. I've done it in my life for sure. Or just like, oh, you just see it and you're like, ugh. Okay. The thing that bothers me most about my partner, my coworker, my brother, sister, my best friend, my boss, my neighbor, the thing that bothers me most, and it's usually in those intimate, more crunchy relationships where that gets a little bit more intense. What tends to bother me most? Okay. What are my most common relationship themes? What patterns have repeated themselves in more than one relationship or with more than one partner? Do you see anything? And since we're looking at the shadow, I mean, you could look at, the positive things, which is great. I mean, that's really where you're strong and, where you have a lot to offer, those where you have the healthy repeating. But what are some patterns that are not quite so positive that you have seen repeated? Okay, moving on. When I get triggered in a relationship, what tends to be my automatic response or go-to emotion? Is it feeling rejected, feeling that you are somehow lacking, not pretty enough, not sexy enough, not smart enough, not rich enough, or too much? Am I too loud, too controlling, too, well, I'm trying to think of something else, too much, too self-centered? What do I keep wishing my partner would, this is a great question. What do I keep wishing my partner would provide for me? How am I wanting them to make me feel? For example, I want them to make me feel safe. I want them to make me feel financially secure. That's important. Sexy. You know, you want a good looking partner so you feel sexy, nurtured, anything, validated, loved. And then think about this. How can I give myself more of this, more of what I'm seeking outside of myself? So no surprise probably for you, those things where the things that really bother us, that we see in other people, tend to be the parts of ourselves that we repress, we have not dealt with, we do not want to own. And that's why we have strong reactions to it. So try to think if something came up pretty clearly, either a specific trigger or a specific shadow quality, just name it for a moment. And say, so let's just name one. Let's say it's the vulnerability thing. So vulnerability, answer this question. You act like, bump, bump, bump. You remind me of, bump, bump, bump. So another really powerful exercise to do is, you have a relationship where you've gotten very triggered. You can do this. This is a little intense, but you could write an FU letter to that person. I'm not going to send this, but just clearly stating all the things that drive you insane about that other person. And then you take that letter and you cross out all the U's and you change it to I. So it can be very revealing, and it doesn't always line up perfectly. You know, maybe we have that trait to a lesser degree than the trigger that we see in someone else, maybe not, but that can often be very insightful. But it's so important to understand how these unconscious qualities are alive and well, and how we project them onto others. And they really sabotage our relationships. So when we work to own them and heal them, we do so much for ourselves and for the people around us. Okay, from here, let's go ahead and bring the knees into the chest. And again, just rock side to side. And you can rock a little bit up and down on the spine. And then just come to bent knees. I want to do a little work in the hips, and then we'll finish up with legs up the wall or legs up the chair or something that's comfortable. But for now, let's go ahead and let's come to figure four. So let's take the right ankle or outer edge of the right foot and place it on your left thigh. And then let's go ahead and start with a straight left leg. We'll straighten the left leg. You have to lift the head and shoulders up and just see if you can grab hold of the leg on your calf. Just drawing the leg towards the face. Gonna go ahead and relax the head, bend the knee, but continue to draw this knee in towards the torso. And you can hold on to the shin in front of the leg, or you can bring your hand between the little triangle and grab hold behind the thigh. If you are straining in your shoulders to draw the legs towards you, use a strap if you have one. And you want to bring the legs in enough so that you feel ideally some sensation in the right hip, but not so much that you're like, gritting your teeth. Okay. And just like with our shadow, when you come up against that resistance, we want to soften. We want to soften instead of getting angrier and pulling harder. Soften. So all of our shadow and defense mechanisms were all purposeful. It was maybe not, maybe we didn't do it in the healthiest way, but we did something that we felt we needed to do to protect ourselves, to make us feel safe. And so we have to be soft with these parts of ourselves that we disown. Understand them, bring them to light, reflect on where that story came from, and then question it. Does it still make sense? A couple more breaths here. Just really see if you can drop and relax more. Work with the body. Use the body as your guide. How to work with these hard, stiff parts of ourselves. It's just the same. Be kind. Be soft. Okay, let's release this. So go ahead, release your hands, lower the feet. You can release that right foot and just windshield wiper a couple times. And then let's do the other side. Let's bring either the outer edge of the foot or the ankle, the left ankle, onto the right thigh. We're going to start with the straight leg. So straighten your right leg, lift the head and shoulders up. Bring the leg towards the face, just for a few breaths. And then relax the head and bend the knee, the right knee. Again, grabbing hold of somewhere on that right leg, either the shin or the thigh, and drawing both legs closer in towards the ribs. If you're close to a wall, another nice way to do this is to actually put that right foot on the wall for a little leverage. Be nice. I see some ankles rotating, which is great. So if you're feeling stiffness, imagine that in your hip is one of those shadowy parts or one of those defense mechanisms. And just think, soften, open, allow. And give yourself some credit. We don't want to do the two arrow thing. So we have, one arrow that is the issue itself. Oh, I do this thing. The second arrow is, I'm such a crappy person for doing this thing. The second arrow is the angst about the first arrow. It just makes it worse. Couple more breaths. Soften, open, allow. Okay. So let's go ahead and come out of this. So let's release the hands, release the feet down to the floor. One more time. Couple windshield wipers. And just notice if there's any other stretching you need to do. We're not quite to Shavasana yet, but just getting any little kinks or icky juju out. And then we're going to come to legs up the wall. So if you've got a wall, awesome. You can sit next to it and swing your legs up there. If you don't have a convenient wall, you can put your legs on the back of a chair. You can put them up on the sofa. You can do this too, just freestanding in the room. You might want to elevate the hips with a bolster or block if you're doing that. And if you're doing it freestanding, just bring the inside edges of the feet together. That way they support each other. And you can actually comfortably, I shouldn't say this, I shouldn't presume, you can often comfortably hold this for a bit, even though you don't have the support of the wall. But of course, if you're doing it freestanding, at any point that you're tired, just bring your legs down. Okay. Okay, so we're going to move into, really formulating a vision of healed relationships. And you may have a specific relationship in mind that's been challenged, or this might just be global for all your relationships. And then we're going to also look at our relationships worldwide. So before you formulate a specific intention, just again, going back to some of those highlights of this time in Libra, allowing us a deep look at relationships, asking yourself, do your relationships on the whole feel equal and balanced? Now, relationships are never completely even, it ebbs and flows, but if in general it sort of evens out over time, then that's good. If something is just always giving or always taking, not so bueno. And then also really ask yourself, one of the other Libra issues is, to what extent do I deny my feelings, needs, desires, thoughts? Where do I sacrifice myself, my integrity, my authenticity, just to keep a connection or just to keep the peace? And at this point, is that still worth it? And then going even a little bit deeper, think about the most fundamental question for setting an intention, which is, how do you want to feel in your relationships? What types of relationships feel supportive? What do you need to feel honored, supported, celebrated? What is your love language? What actions of others, actions or words, or can't remember all the languages, gifts, what actions of others communicate love to you? And this is a really important question. Are you open to receiving that love? How do you want to show and communicate your love? What kind of relationship would help you evolve and align with your soul's purpose. Okay, so again, we always want to start with the self and with self-love. So before going any further in visioning, see if you can take this in. Say to yourself, I am whole. I accept and love myself just as I am. Now, if there's not a resounding yes, and for most of us, it's hard to have a yes 100% of the time. But if that feels a little shaky, the best intention really is, may I come to love and accept myself fully. That would be the best relationship affirmation. But from this place of self-love, feel into that just for a moment, even if you have to pretend. Think about visioning a relationship from that place of self-love. So I'm loving myself. I feel happy and whole. I'm quirky and that's okay. I've got some quirks and that's, but I don't have an issue with it. I'm not trying to hide. Okay. And from that place of pure openness, I'm a limited edition. Envision yourself in healthy, supportive relationships, knowing we don't have control over other people's behaviors. But when we feel that deep self-love, then our relationships are free. We're not seeking, validation. We're not seeking security. I mean, I don't know, hard to say, but the more we do the inside job, the freer we are to just fully love another. How do you want to show up in a relationship? Imagine this relationship where you feel whole, where you are with partners, friends, business relationships, where they can walk with you, but also walk their own path. Now at this point, if you are really comfy with your legs up and want to stay, just stay there. If you'd like to come down and lie in a classic shavasana, just move yourself away from the wall or the chair. And let's get comfy first. So I'm going to give you a second. Maybe put something underneath the knees, something under your head. If you want to turn the lights off, can. And again, starting with the relationship with the self. Even if it's a leap, visualize yourself loving and embracing who you are. Accepting yourself, loving and accepting yourself, who you are, with all your humanity, all your quirks. I'm going to add in, there is a classic mantra to heal relationships. So I'll just repeat this after each of these levels. And it is Om, Hreem, Shreem, Kleem, Parama, long one, Paramshwari, Swaha. Paramshwari, Swaha. Om, Hreem, Shreem, Kleem, Paramshwari, Swaha. Relationship with the self. And then if you have a relationship that's been challenging and that you're looking to heal, visualize that relationship now. Visualize you with the other person, both independent, but working together harmoniously, respecting each other, honoring each other, in each other's wholeness. None of us are perfect. Om, Hrim, Shrim, Klim, Parameshwari, Swaha, Swaha, Swaha. I offer it. Seeing loving light around this. If you are trying to manifest a new relationship, again, envision this healthy relationship where you and your partner are free to be your authentic selves, to communicate in ways that are truthful and kind, not hurtful, to respect each other, and really to cherish and honor each other. Om Hrim Shrim Klim Parameshwari Swaha. So the reason why conflict occurs at all in relationships, whether that's with our partner or with groups of people, why wars happen is basically when we move away from our true nature and we forget that we are all connected. And the worst happens when we start to view the other as not only separate, but actually less human than. And that's where we get truly the worst of human behavior. So may all beings everywhere open to living in the heart, to remembering their true nature, to realizing that we are all connected, that the harm we cause others ultimately harms ourselves even more so. For all the relationships in the world, particularly where there is conflict involving violence, may they be healed. Om Hrim Shrim Klim Parameshwari Swaha. Om Hrim Shrim Klim Parameshwari Swaha. Om Hrim Shrim Klim Parameshwari Swaha. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, 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 peace. Visualize a world where we move beyond these low vibrational energies and come to a place where we live from a higher source. It is possible. It can be done. It starts with ourselves. It starts with healing ourselves. May all beings everywhere be happy and free of suffering. Oh, take a long, deep breath. Inhale. Big sigh out. Let's do that again, particularly if you've been tense or uneasy the last couple of days. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. And when you feel ready, go ahead and roll over onto your side. Before we get up, just take a moment to thank yourself. Whatever your reasons were for coming tonight, it's great that you took the time. You took some time for yourself. You know, self-care gets battered around a little too ubiquitously these days, but we have to do this, particularly in these times that are very challenging. We have to take moments to pause, to be quiet, to relax, to reflect. Okay, when you feel ready, just come back to seated. Splits all together. Take a deep breath in, sweep those arms out and up above the head. Exhale, bring your hands back to the heart. I just value you all so much. I really do. Let's all keep trying. That's all we can do. Namaste.